What is up, guys? It is Kitsos from Gerstlauer, and today we're going to be taking a look at a coaster review. Well, I guess we're not taking a look at one, we are doing one. It is going to be Monster at Adventureland in Altoona, Iowa. Now, let me just start by saying that this park really is up and coming. They're really looking to really improve their attraction lineup, make everything about their park better, and I really appreciate that about a park. Of course, removing the somewhat infamous Hopkins Looper in favor of a more modern thrill coaster, an S&S Free Spin. Even though I don't personally like those rides, I do believe it was a great move for the park. But really, this extreme expansion where they started really investing into big-ticket attractions for a small park like this was, of course, Monster. Now, of course, they had other rides before that. I'm not trying to say they didn't, but what I'm trying to say is Monster was where they said, hey, we're in Iowa, you better realize we're here because, you know, we're gonna make a splash, and that's what they did, and boy, did they hit it out of the park. Up to the point of Monster's opening, Gerstlauer had only really been in America for spinning coasters and their Eurofighter model, but here was an opportunity for them to showcase their Infinity Coaster model. So when it opened, people weren't sure what to expect, many people, especially locals, as it was not like anything they had seen before. I mean, these Infinity Coasters are quite unique, and yes, they do bear similarities to Eurofighters, but they also bear some very stark differences as well. Now, before we continue, I just want to give a special shout out to Coaster Thrills, who took this absolutely stunning off-ride footage and is allowing everyone to use it copyright free as long as he is credited. So, of course, I will be crediting him in the description as well as on the top corner of the page, as you can see now. Also, his logo is in the bottom right corner of the screen, so check out his channel. Again, it's Coaster Thrills. So now let's continue moving on. What is bad about Monster? Honestly, nothing. I don't find this ride to have any bad qualities, and that's saying a lot coming from me. I find this ride to be nearly perfect in every way for what it's supposed to do. It's intense, it's thrilling, it's a very unique feeling. Every element on it is hangtime based rather than intensity in terms of positives or negatives. I'm used to that, but with hangtime, it's a whole new feeling that I'm not used to feeling that often. I know that sounds crazy. I've ridden over 200 roller coasters, but believe it or not, only a handful really give hangtime in any extreme fashion, and this one, I may just add, does it better than the others that I have ridden that do hang time. It's more comfortable, it's way more thrilling, and it's way more sustained. Monster's elements are also pretty wonky. I mean, come on, a Norwegian, or is it a Norwegian or a Finnish loop? I think it's a Finnish loop is what it's called. Sorry, I'm not 100% familiar with all element names, but basically it's like a vertical loop in between, or like it's a twisting dive into a vertical loop-like element, but it's really elongated, so it's actually like, it's just a weird feeling. It is so weird, and the hang time is exquisite. You are hanging upside down for what feels like an eternity. It is absolutely insane. Of course, you have other elements. You have a corkscrew, being my second favorite element of the ride. It comes after a trim brake that does really take some speed away, but it allows for an insane amount of hang time on that corkscrew. And I guess, you know, it does have a little bit of a Gerstlauer rattle, but it's not bad at all. Now, what I'm trying to say is basically, this ride's just great. It really is so freaking good. It doesn't really have any exquisite airtime moments. It does have one or two moments of decent floater airtime or flowjector, but it's not like throw you out of your seat violent ejector airtime or anything. But it has some great levels of banking. It really feels like every element it's just gonna valley, but in the best possible way. It stalls out on each element, just barely making it and giving that ultimate floaty hang timey feeling, and I think that really is what makes Monster so great. Now, what would I say about Monster in terms of the rest of the rides at the park? I mean, are you kidding me? Is that even a question? This is the best ride in the park. I wouldn't even have to ride all the flat rides to tell you that. And I still believe it will remain the best ride in the park even after the opening of Dragon Slayer, the SNS Free Spin. I think it's the best ride in Iowa, and that's including Arnold's Park. And I do believe it will remain that despite the opening of Lost Island in 2022 or 3. I do believe it's 2023, but it may be earlier. We don't really know 100% a set opening date, but I do believe they're targeting 2023, but I may be wrong on that. They may be targeting 2022. But the point is, Monster is elite. It is absolutely elite. So let's take a look at some categories. Now, let's just start with vertical lift, beyond vertical drop. Check marks in my book for the first drop. I mean, heck, the lift hill's interesting. Gotta love a vertical lift because it manages to make a lift hill interesting. And you know me, I love interesting. So that's first thing. Lift hill and drop, awesome. That's something I forgot to mention. You get absolutely, like, it just packs a punch. It's a great feeling on that first drop. It's really intense. Not really in positives, just the feeling is intense. It feels like you're really gaining speed. It's a really intense feeling, and I really like that about that element. All the elements combined, like the sequence of elements, I think is a 10 out of 10 for this. Like, sequence of elements is perfect on this ride. Overall ride experience, I'd say a 9 out of 10. That rattle is just slightly there, but again, I don't think it's a negative. It actually adds a little character to the ride, but I can see how it could make it not as re-rideable for some people. Speed is great. I mean, this thing hauls through the low to the ground portions, yet it also manages to stall out on the high to the ground portions, providing a perfect mix of speed. You get that feeling of speed and that sense of speed and adrenaline you want on a roller coaster on about half the ride, but then the other half of the ride, you get that hang time, you get that stall out feeling, that floatiness that also is really nice to find on a roller coaster. So overall, what would I rank this in terms of my top 50? Oh yeah, it's in my top 50. Top 25? I haven't really done my rankings recently, but I suspect it could definitely nudge its way into there potentially. It's just an awesome ride, and 10 out of 10 for me is my final verdict and score. I know this review may sound a little all over the place. The reason for that is I have not done a coaster review in about a year, so bear with me. It'll get better. I'll get more refined, and I also probably won't be as tired as I am now. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please click that like button down below. And I hope you also subscribe if you have not done so already. It would really help us against the YouTube algorithm. Remember to comment your thoughts. What do you think of Monster? If you've ridden it, if you haven't, what do you think you would take away from riding it? Like, what is your anticipation when taking a look at this footage and other footage on the internet? Alright, that's all I have for you. Until next time, peace guys.